All right. Looks like we have a good connection. People are getting notified, which is great. Hopefully, this time TikTok in the very middle doesn't just completely freak out and kick everyone out and reset all of our statistics because me and Tanya, my executive producer and co host, we're excited about that. She's able to get on live with us now. We we really, really hope that it doesn't freak out and kick everyone out like it did last time because that was annoying and it reset all of our metrics that Tony and I look at. So here's hoping everything is good. On a little earlier than usual because people have been requesting a sort of a chat way to warm up to get into the show before it officially starts at 7. And so we're going to do that. I can vamp at the best of them. In fact, Tanya may have to get on here and cut me off. That is probably going to happen a lot more often now that she's able to come on and instead of just yelling at me from the comments. One TikTok related piece of news is that apparently I am now in some kind of multi guest host contest. I didn't have a whole lot of time to look because I just got the notification either yesterday or today. But I don't have to do anything different. Just if we get a whole lot of likes and shares and gifts and stuff, apparently I'm going to be on a leaderboard of some kind. TikTok is trying to promote multi-guest stuff. I was doing it before it was cool, apparently, so that's always pretty fun. We can treat this extra time at the beginning like a red carpet, which leads me, of course, to the Oscars. I had no complaints with anything that won. We talk about books on here on BookTalk on BookTalk, but everyone wants a movie deal or Netflix deal, and if you don't, then congratulations to you. You are living very comfortably, and cinema and TV is not your thing, but for most of it, it is. Most of us, it is. I definitely. There were a couple of people that could have won, but I had no problem with Everything Everywhere All the Time winning just about everything. I definitely thought it was the best movie. Women Talking was not very cinematic by nature, but I'm glad that it won Best Adapted Screenplay because that was incredibly powerful. I don't feel like I need to read the book now, which, when a screenplay can do that, that's always nice. That's rarely the case. The movie Simon Birch. I have not seen the movie Simon Birch, so I will have to store that away and take a look because the more I get involved with trying to write screenplays and producing and writing for independent film like I'm doing, the more I realize that I need to watch not just watch movies but watch films. And I know that they're the same thing, but there's indie versus blockbuster. Watching another Marvel movie probably is not going to help me in my quest to get screenplays published. But watching stuff like Women Talking and Everything Everywhere All at Once, okay, it's based on a book and a play. Very good. And a lot of times, stuff that's adapted from plays to movies can be good. I watched one the other day with Jeff Daniels called Guest Artist. And it was a small cast, and you can tell it was originally played because it took place in about 3 locations and mostly all in one, and it was almost all dialogue, which is the hallmark of a play, as opposed to a film, which still should follow the book axiom of show not tell. So that's always good. What else do I have going on? I'm getting close to going to the Pancraft Awards to receive that award. In fact, I have the physical ticket now, which came in the mail, which is nice. So I'm looking forward to that. Over the weekend, I was in Lubbock. I taught a class on pacing. I taught a class on pacing, and here we go. Here is my executive producer co-host, Tanya. Let's see, I invited her. I think I may have to invite her again. I think it may have kicked her off. But anyway, so that was fun. I got to teach people about pacing and making sure that their stories don't drag. Did a book signing at Wildlark Books, which I know got drugged through the mud here on TikTok when they definitely did not do everything that needed to be done for a visiting author. But they were good to me. I brought my own books. I'm almost out. I definitely Oh, and here we go. We have our first guest to join us. Welcome, April.
Hi.
And I'll invite her again. I invited Tanya a couple times. I'm not sure. I know she lives in North Dakota, and maybe the internet's not working spectacularly out there, and maybe TikTok's just being dumb. I know we kicked everyone out last week, reset all of our stats. So Tanya and I were disappointed, we like knowing how many people watched and all that good stuff.
Aw.
Uh, but anyway, so April, you write sweet and steamy romance
Yeah.
based on your online profile. So I did want to ask you about that. Those are two that don't usually come along in the same sentence when you're talking about romance novels on TikTok. So let us know what exactly that is.
Well, because with sweet, there's so many subjective terminologies out there now, and the thing is like I don't write what people consider to be clean. There's nothing clean about it. Um, but it's also not the spiciest of spice that ever spiced, but it's kind of like Hallmark After Dark, basically. So the storylines are real sweet. There is plot there, and but there's open door stuff. So I think some people do consider sweet romance to be closed door or even chaste almost, but
Mm-hmm.
that's term's a little outdated, I think. And the thing is you can have a very sweet story and still have the extra fun time in there. So that's why, when I was picking out my slogan, it was kind of I'm a little bit of both, so I wanted to add both. And I know that some people don't prefer to use that term clean, but I also am a big believer in, like, you can't give power to words like that.
Mm-hmm.
So which some people might not agree with me, and that's totally fine. But that's why I chose sweet, because they are sweet stories. They're a little spicy sometimes.
Well, and like the romance genre and what we call the books that are in all those subgenres changes a lot, and it's like Jodie Thomas. I mentioned her on the show before. We were in a critique group together, and she now writes what the trade magazines are calling women's fiction. But forever it was normal. It was romance. That was definitely her genre. And what happened was they whenever romance started getting spicier, she was put in the non-spicy category because she um, basically fade to black, but not totally. Like, she wrote stories as they would happen in real life, which just sounds a little bit like what you're doing. So whenever her people came to her and said, "Hey, so how do you want your books to be called? What do you want us to do?" She says, "I don't know." They're like, "Well, are you going to continue to have sex in your books?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, because I'm writing romance and sex happens between real people in real life. I'm not just going to not have any sex between my characters. I write romance, for heaven's sake." And so they just decided to start calling it women's fiction to kind of skirt around all that. And it sounds a little bit like that's what you're doing. You're writing what would happen to real people in real life. There's going to be sweet moments, but there's also going to be super happy fun time, and you just have to put all of that kind of stuff in there.
It's
Um,
so hard.
uh,
It's so hard with the genres and the subgenres. I have a friend that she was going to put her books into women's fic because she was like, I don't want the romance folks coming after me because things don't check all the boxes. But I read the books in advance and I was like, listen, if you want to put this in women's fic, that's okay. But why not put it in romance? Because this is absolutely a romance. And I feel like, women's fic is such a big genre in itself, but like what your friend write, it seems like she's still writing romance, as long as you're checking
mhm,
all the boxes, and there's that character arc with the two people, or in some cases now more than two people, and then you have you're happy for now or you're happily ever after. Those are the boxes that have to be checked. It's pretty simple. um
mhm,
and I do know, like, there is this surge in the spicier books, if you want to call it that. But even then, like, Man, I've read some really great Fade to Black here recently, and as long as I can still get all the feely feels, I'm here for it. I don't need the open door stuff. It's just that's what I prefer to write.
Mm-hmm.
And because my story, there's like no breaks, like everything flows really well, and like you said, their relationships. Like I write contemporary romance, so it these people could be real people, and these instances could really happen. Um, so that's a real true to life thing in with adults. All of my characters are over 21. So it just felt like the right thing for me to do. But there's so many books. Like you don't have to have it to drive the story forward if you don't want to. But I feel like you can't, you know, downplay that there are sweet books that can be spicy at the same time. So that's why I went with that, because it totally
Yeah.
suits my books. Oh, there's Eliza.
Yes, yes, we have our full contingent here, including Tanya Keltukludiu, who is the executive producer and now can help co-host the show, which I absolutely love. That way, she doesn't have to yell at me from the comments; she can yell at me in real life, and it's totally fine. And you mentioned earlier that romance has a meet cute between two people usually, or more than two people, and that was a good segue into. Rosin or Roisin. How do you pronounce your name?
Roisin.
Roisin. Yes.
Roisin. See, Roisin. I was way off. Okay, so
It doesn't at all look like it sounds.
yeah. So Roisin writes the Twisted series, which is a steamy reverse harem. Which obviously has more than two in the coupling, and I am all for reverse harem stories. I can't say that I've read one yet, but in practice and in philosophy, I think it's great. Definitely as opposed to a regular harem, which I would probably never get behind. But anyway, so yes, we have a wide array of romance people on here today, and we have a narrator for the first time in a while, which I love. We have Eliza Summers, so welcome. And if I saw right, you are just getting over a cold, and I know that because I saw your video where you sang "Smelly Cat," and to this day, if I'm petting a cat, there's a 50% chance I'm humming "Smelly Cat" or just just singing "Smelly Cat" to that cat. So friends will never die. I watched the reunion on HBO and cried, and I hope all of you did as well because it's very, very nostalgic. And then we also have Jamie Applegate Hunter with us, and the thing that we're going to ask her about later, because we're all small creators on here, and most of us do not have a following of 37,000. So we are going to ask her what her secret is. And I'm sure there is no actual secret, but we'll get to talk about it. So, and then, I think I have introduced anyone. If I've not, yell at me. I have thick skin, and I definitely miss things sometimes. We've had a lot of gifts coming in, which is great. And we already have more than 1,000 likes, which is awesome. I mentioned at the very beginning that me as a host, I've been put onto, and I did not opt into some sort of multi-guest contest. So I don't think I have to do anything special. I just think the more likes and the more gifts and the more shares and stuff we get, I'm going to be on a leaderboard of some kind. So that seems pretty cool. But if you want people to join in on the discussion over the next couple hours, go ahead and share. You can share down on the bottom of your screen and let some of your people know who might be interested in talking to Jamie, Roisin, April, or Eliza, or Tanya. And you kind of get me no matter what happens. So I'm not even going to pretend like you should share so people can talk to me, because it's all about the audience. I'm a good host, but whenever Tanya asks me questions, I can talk for about 39 of the 90 minutes that we have scheduled for the show. So that's not always a great idea. So I did want to ask Roisin to talk a little bit about why you chose to write reverse harem novels, because there are a lot of great romance tropes out there. That one seems intentional to me for some reason, and I may be totally wrong, but what got you started on that particular romance trope?
I love that. Intentional. Yeah, I would say that that's intentional. I had never heard of reverse harem prior to the pandemic, and then one of my closest friends, I don't know how she fell into it, how she found the genre, how she came to read any of it. She borrowed me a book. I read it and I said I need more of this. And we started swapping stories, and yeah, I fell down, I think, kind of a rabbit hole. I have read probably hundreds now of reverse harem stories. And prior to that, I had actually written a couple of thriller novels. And so it was quite a departure for me. Um, yeah, I don't know. The concept of not having to choose. And I guess getting away from the reverse harem tag and more of the why choose. The dynamics of those relationships were very fascinating to me. And so,
Real quick, and I apologize for my ignorance. What are the differences between reverse harem and why choose?
so with reverse harem, it is, I think there's kind of been a negative connotation assigned to that more in the use of the word harem. So there was a shift a little bit within the community to tag those books more as why choose.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know why I like reverse harem, though. Can I put my thoughts in here on that?
Absolutely.
I want things around my house fixed. That's why I like reverse harem.
I love it.
No, and well, like I said, you're right when you talked about harem. I said earlier that in terms of a philosophy and a concept, reverse harem books are something I fully support. Whereas if I turned it around and somebody wrote, a male harem book, like, yeah, that would not interest me in the least. Because I call that a cult. I mean, that's just kind of where my brain goes with it. So I can understand getting rid of the word harem, and then why choose definitely might be more palatable to a larger audience, as April and I were discussing, as the nomenclature around romance and levels of spice and different tropes changes and evolves, and it evolves so quickly because independent publishers and TikTok, has only made it, has only put it into overdrive. There are so many more of those books and all of the different subgenres out there that the marketplace has to kind of balance itself out. It hasn't had 200 years like most of the other realms of fiction. Eliza, I am curious about what all novels that you narrate, and do you have a favorite genre and subgenre?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I've had so much fun. I've narrated sci-fi, fantasy, paranormal romance, contemporary romance, and cozy mystery. And it has all been very, very fun. In fact, April's books were the first romance, like contemporary romance. I've never read contemporary romance, and like from the moment I got the audition, I was like, oh my gosh, I actually kind of love this. And so I would say, like, my nerdy soul, like, my favorite books are sci-fi and fantasy. And lit RPG recently, actually. I'm really trying to get a lit RPG book. But everything has been so much fun. I love every genre that I've gotten to narrate. It's been fun.
Awesome.
Did you know?
And go ahead, Tony.
I'm sorry. Did you know that she has a really awesome day job too? You have to ask her about her awesome day job.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What is your day job?
I split my time between narration and speech pathology. So I'm actually just finishing up my graduate program, but I'm in my internship, and it's super fun. So I have been going much slower on my narration than a lot of my other friends. I see who did I just see in the comments? Like Allie Dan. Like a lot of my other narrator friends have been like blowing through. I take on like one book every couple months while I'm in grad school, but once I'm done, I'll be able to expand that. So that's exciting.
And I was going to ask you what you were doing in grad school because you mentioned that on your video sometimes. So
Yeah.
that definitely answers my question, and that is a very cool day job, and that is a very excellent thing that you're doing. And that is a very cool day job, and that is a very excellent thing that you're doing. And that is a very cool day job, and that is a very excellent thing that you're doing. And that is very. Okay, I had to turn off Tanya's microphone, and she may have to leave and try to come back because I just heard myself giving the same speech. So I apologize. So Jamie, we let you be awful quiet, although it looked like you had some technical difficulties yourself. So we won't spotlight that. But now that you're back, what led you to write the books that you write?
So I actually, when I wrote my first book, which I always tell people it's my mediocre series, I'm actually going to go back and completely rewrite it after my next book comes out. But it was during quarantine, and I just was kind of bored. I was at home with my toddler, and I was like, I don't know. I had this idea. I actually had a dream about the two main characters in my first book. And I woke up and I sent a voice message to my friend so I wouldn't forget. And then I sat down and I was just obsessing over it. So I wrote it. And then I wrote this trilogy. And as I wrote each book, I learned more and more. And I kind of became more, I don't want to say obsessed, but in love with the art and what I was doing. And so by the time it got to Umbra King, which is my most successful book, it pretty much completely launched my career. I have just learned so much, and I've grown as an author, and I just get these ideas. And when I get one, if it's an idea that I cannot stop thinking about, then I know it's going to end up being my next book. And so with the Umbra King, if anyone has read it, there is a really big twist at the end between the two main characters. And that was the very first thing I thought of. I just randomly was like, ooh, that'd be a crazy ending to the first book in a series. And I sent a message to my editor of my Royals of Rodina series, and I was just like, listen to this. And then what I did, I still remember I was pacing around my living room, sending her voice messages, and I was like, oh, and I could do this, and I could do this, and I could do this. And it just kind of came to life and formed. And I always tell people, I'm like, if you get an idea, no matter how wacky it sounds, write it down. And if you can't stop thinking about it, then write the book. Because you never know which book and which story is going to be that one that kind of, shoot you off.
And that's the advice I give, because that's how it works for me. Is a lot of times, Divided States, the last novel I wrote, it was something that would not go away. I could not get the idea out, so I wrote it as a short story, and people told me, hey, that's a great first chapter for a novel, but you've got way too much going on for it to be a short story. So I thought, okay, well, if there's more going on, so I wrote a synopsis just to have it out there. And then one of my publishers was like, hey, you working on anything new? We'd love to have a new book. And I was like, oh, here's a chapter 1 in the synopsis. And then I got the contract in the email 2 weeks later with how quickly can you get this done? Now, part of that's because it was very topical. It's called Divided States. It was about secession, and this was 4 or 5 months before January 6th. So, there are other factors going on. I got really lucky in that regard. But the point being that, yes, I tell people, if there's an idea that will not leave you alone, then that's the one you should pursue if you have several things going on. So yeah, great advice. April, I don't think we started talking before everyone else. What was your publishing journey like? When did you start writing seriously, and what made you think, this is the book that I'm going to go ahead and start my publishing career with?
It was actually a really weird haul to get there, and I had a really long break.
I love weird stories.
And when like I had gotten older. I had stopped writing like in my early 20s. And I kind of was at that phase in life where I was like, you know what, that was just a dream. It's never going to happen, whatever. And then I got obsessed with Outlander when the pandemic happened. And
Woohoo!
so I went down this weird rabbit hole because, you know, that's what you do. You get obsessed with these new things and you start like investigating everything. And so I started like studying Diana Gabaldon. And one night I was watching like a YouTube video or something that she had done an interview with. And we were sitting there watching television and I'm watching this thing. And she was saying how she was 36 when she published Outlander. And I looked at my husband and I was like, babe, oh my God, you will never believe this. And he's like, what are you even talking about? And I was like, Diana Gabaldon was 36. And he was like, okay. And I was like, what did she write? And he was like, well, that's cool. He was like, oh my God, she's fangirly over there. And I was like, I'm not too old. And he was like, what? And he was like, I said, I'm not too old. And he was like, all right. And I was like, no, I'm going to write a book. And he's like, okay, so do that. Then I was like, no, I'm serious. I'm going to do it. And he was like, then do it. Like, leave me alone. And so I opened the laptop again, because I had slammed it down in my, my excitement or whatever. And I opened it back up and I started writing right then. And that was not actually the first book that I published, but it is published. That one actually, I took a while to write that one. And then I worked on it so much and I had so many eyes on it and it just didn't feel like it was good enough, and I have always loved contemporary romance because that one's not contemporary romance. It's like my redheaded stepchild that I never talk about, but it's out there. But I love contemporary, and I had been reading a ton of contemporary, and I was like, I'm going to switch gears, and I'm going to try out this other story and to see where it goes. And I got some good feedback on that one, and it felt really good. I fell in love with the characters, and I had plans to do 3 books for this little series, interconnected standalone. And I was like, well, this will be cute and easy. And I was like, honestly, contemporary is so saturated. Nobody's even going to notice me, and it did really well. And it's my most popular book now. But I was 39 before I published my first book. And that was about a year and a half ago. And now I have 11 published books. And I'm always working on more. But so that's kind of how that happened. And like Jamie was saying, my second most popular book, I was actually writing another one in that series, and I was kind of feeling a block. People showed up, started yelling, and they kept trying to talk to me, and I was like, no, I need to stick to my series. That's what everybody says. Stick to the series. You got to finish your series. But these people wouldn't leave me alone, and one of my friends, I was telling her I was having really bad writer's block. And she's like, honey, follow the voices. She was like, you're self-publishing anyway, so it's not like anybody's waiting for you to turn this in. Just write whatever is coming to you. And I ended up writing that manuscript in 3 weeks. And again, it's my second most popular book. And it's a fan favorite. It gets talked about a lot. So definitely follow the voices. Like if, whatever's speaking to you. And I eventually did go back and finish the other one, but I had a weird little break. And no, it's not typical for me to write a whole novel in 3 weeks. It was just this weird, they wouldn't shut up. So it got done.
No, Divided States came quick for me, not that quick. It interests me every time someone brings this up and someone says that, I'm 36 and it's not too late for me to write. I'm like, I go to writers' conventions and crime writers, which is, not romance writers, so like Thriller Fest and VoucherCon and so some of those around the country. But I'm 37, so I was what, 30, 34, 35 34 whenever I started going to my first ones before the pandemic. And I generally am at least 20 years younger than every other writer there. And so I've never quite understood. And I guess maybe it's a specific TikTok thing, which would make sense given the average age of the user. But whenever people are in their mid 30s and are like, I feel like I'm so behind and why haven't I published 40 books yet? It's like, if you publish one in your mid 30s, man, you are, as a writer, you are ahead of the game for most people. Most people who are publishing a whole lot of books, and granted, a lot of them are traditionally published, which is a different game. But I always want to tell people, and I want to make sure that and shout from the rooftops that it is never too late to start writing a book, and you are never too old to publish your first book. If you do it in your 50s, you are going to be pretty close to the average, maybe a little behind, but not very much. Late 40s, early 50s is totally fine. And so I feel like whenever you said that, I felt another opportunity to get on my soapbox and say that. How do the rest of you all feel about that? Is there pressure for somebody in their early and mid 30s to start publishing books if they think they even want to? Like I'm very interested in that, if that's a thing.
I'll be 37 in May, and I wrote I was 35. And when I was working, I never even gave my age a thought. It never occurred to me that it mattered, I guess. I don't know. I wanted to write it, and so I did. But I'm also one of those people where whatever I was like, I'm young. I went to college off and on, didn't finish my degree until I don't want to say I didn't care, but I was like, I want to do whatever I enjoy doing. I've never been someone to do something if I don't enjoy it. I don't stay at a job if I don't enjoy it, no matter how much I pay. It's just not my personality. So when I was like, started writing and I was like, this is what I want to do, I just never gave a second thought to my age. And so when, to hear that some people are self-conscious about it, I hate that. I'm with you. I just want to yell from the rooftops and be like, it doesn't matter. Literally write a book when you're 80. Like,
it started out though, it wasn't an age thing. It was because like I got married, I had kids, I had a full-time job. It was more of like, okay, I have to live my normal life right now. And like, as much as I love my parents, the people around me when I was younger, it was one of those things where the arts were not considered a real job, right? So I was focused on my real job and all of that stuff. So, but then it became an age factor later on because I was like, man, I am so far behind the game. If I would have done this, it was the whole woulda, shoulda, coulda thing when I was, in my early 20s. If I would have started, I would have been so far ahead and I could have worked on my craft all this time. And then, the older your kids get and the more curricular activities they're doing and you got jobs and, payments of everything and you are like running in circles all over the place. It's not just age thing. It's like you feel like you missed that window of opportunity when you had all that time in your youth. You know what I mean? But it was like this epiphany that Diana Gabaldon, she was working, like she was like a scientist, and she decided that she was going to do this, and she has a son, so it was more like, just because I'm older and I do have these other responsibilities, I should not have let that prevent me from working on this if that's what I wanted to do. But I needed that sort of light bulb moment to realize, like, I can still do this, that sort of light bulb moment to realize, like, I can still do this, you know what I mean? So the age factor's in a little bit, but that's like the root of it, But I do
now that kind of inspiring story is great.
A lot of people once I started publishing, I realized most people are at least in their 30s, so I was like, oh, well, this isn't bad at all. Like all of these people are my age. So, because I started going to conferences and stuff to try to learn about publishing and like which direction I wanted to go, and also like how to work on the craft and stuff like that. So, and I was like, in some cases, I was like, wow, I feel like a baby here, So it was really eye-opening once I actually stepped into this world, that I was like, oh wow, there's a lot of people like me, So it was really
and that's how it usually is. You jump right in. Speaking of jumping right in, we got a lot more people that are joining us, which is great. So I'm going to kind of do a little reset, what they might call in TV. If you're just joining us, this is Book Talk on BookTalk, where we talk about books, not surprisingly. But we have a great panel today. We have Eliza Summers, the narrator, and we have several authors who all write in various romance genres. And so we are thrilled to have everyone here. If you like and you share, we get more people who can view. And if you think somebody's going to enjoy the panel, by all means, let them know that we're here talking. We'll be going for about another hour and a half. And we're all small creators, so gifts are always welcome. And especially to Celtic Blue, Tanya, she runs this show other than being the talking head that I am. So if you can only give out one gift today, give it to her because she has more than earned it. We are coming up on our 20th episode, and it is all hers. So yes, she deserves all the gifts from all of us. So thank you to all the new people who are here. You mentioned conferences. This has become a popular thing for us to talk about. How many are going to be going to Virginia? I know that the last panel, every single person was going to the sinful signings. What's it called, Tanya?
Yeah, sinful signings, and I know that several of us in the audience, and also I am kind of excited about that.
So I actually just heard about sinful signing. Everything I learned about being an author was like Google and TikTok. Like I'm not very good at my job. So I just learned about sinful sightings, and I went to their website, and they actually still had the applications open for the 2023 panel, and I didn't know if that was an accident or not. So I filled it out, and I'm fingers crossed that I'll go. But if I don't, then
I'll make sure you're in there.
Who said that?
Me, Tanya, Celtic Blue.
That's Tanya.
That would be great. I would love that. I was like real excited because Jennifer from Books and Beer, I don't know if anyone watches that. She's going. And so that's how I, kind of found out about it, which my PA, she sent me a list of book conventions and I kind of scanned over them and saw it, but I didn't really know what it was because I've literally been working from like the time I wake up until like 3:30 in the morning trying to get Eternal releases in like less than 2 weeks. And oh God. And so I was like, I'll look at it later. But then I was talking to Jen and she was talking about it. And I was like, well, if you're going, I'll just apply.
That's amazing. I love Jen.
Yeah. I was like working on my computer and her and I were sending voice messages back and forth on Instagram. So I would like type while I was listening, stop. And we did that probably until like 1 a.m. And so as soon as I got off, I jumped on and applied for it. And I was like, well, I guess we'll see.
We'll be more than happy to have you.
Oh, one of my readers is in the comments and she asked, and I can't go. We actually have our family vacation that week every year for the last 20 years. So I saw it because my friend Peggy's going, of course, and I would love to go hang out with her. And I do have some readers that are right there in that area. So I was like, oh my God, why could they have not picked a different weekend? So I'm a little bummed. I have 2 other conventions I'm going to this year, but they're not in Virginia. So
yeah. What about Roisin? Are you going to be going to anywhere this year?
I don't have any plans to yet. No, I'm still kind of incognito. A lot of people in my real life day-to-day don't know what I do. And I'm kind of slowly transitioning away from that. So eventually I will show my face and hopefully attend conferences. But for right now,
we try to bring her out into the daylight.
Yeah.
You ever thought not showing your face on the internet? You ever thought not showing your face on the internet and then just only showing up at signings and like the possibility of people finding out is like really low? Because that's totally what I do.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of using my real name to write. Like I said, I didn't really know much about this when I started. And I had people send packages to my house. I don't know who they're from. They'll be book related. They're never bad. But because my real name for them to look me up, everyone I know what I do. And an author, his name is Jamie Hunter, who writes like, and there's no hate about this, I have probably read some of her books, writes like gangbang romance, is like what is described as, something like that. And so my friends and family found out that I wrote, they went to look it up, and I'm from Texas, clutching their pearls, and I do write so much. It's
Just not that smut.
Yeah.
It's not that smart.
I'm like, I to know that.
So,
that was
well, we're
my
about.
family. Oh,
Go ahead, Eliza.
sorry. I was just gonna say it's funny when my family. I narrate under a pseudonym. Liza Summers is a pseudo, not for any reason other than my last name is hard to spell. So I was like, I'll pick a random last name. And my family is always like, we want to look you up. And I was like, okay, well, be prepared to like never think of me the same because I've read some smut.
If you don't follow her, you have to go look at her pinned post from when her sister listened to one of my books that Eliza narrated.
Yeah.
It was the best review I've seen in my whole life. It was hilarious. So yeah, you have to just check out her pinned post because I can't even explain it. I won't do it justice. It was fantastic.
And to everyone down in the comments who's watching, if you're not already following all of us, we would love for you to follow us. We're all always after that bigger subscriber base, which is a good segue into Jamie. How does one get to 37,000 followers on TikTok? Because that, in and of itself is a huge feat. But I imagine that, certain marketing opportunities open up whenever you get to that sort of level.
So I actually have a personal account that has about 104,000 followers that I started during quarantine writing. I just posted about dumb stuff. I don't know how I got to that amount because with that account, I learned how to grow your following, I guess. Like I knew what I needed to do and I never did it. I would do it like every now and then, like you have to find a niche and you have to stick to it. You have to post every day. You have to give the people what they want because the people are going to follow you for whatever video they've seen you do. And so if you have a video that gets you a lot of followers, that's going to be that you're going to. So I don't even hardly use my personal account anymore. I actually was thinking about deleting it. But when I started stuck in quarantine, book videos. And so I was like, kind of got talk and I started writing. I was like, well, I want to make a book account. So my friend and I actually made an account, which now it's only mine because it's got a lot of stuff going stuff. But when I got on BookTalk, I kind of neglected my other account and I was like, this book will be my. I learned that within BookTalk, you have to have a niche within a niche, basically. So you've got the people who only do aesthetic videos. You have people who do really intricate reviews on books. You have people who do a lot of memes. You have people who do recommendations. And I don't do critical reviews. I don't do reviews at all unless I'm recommending a book, I guess. That's just what I do. And so I kind of do board. I will do stuff that's directed towards authors. I will do stuff that is book recs. I will do book memes. I do aesthetic videos stuff. I can do a lot of stuff. If I picked a niche stuff with it, my following will grow more. But I'm more worried about reaching multiple groups. I want to reach the groups that like those. I want to reach the groups that like my recommendation. Because I'm a reader before I'm an author. And when I started my account, it was more as a reader, like I was writing, but I didn't do anything with my book. And so if you want to connect with readers, you need to connect with them as a reader as well. Now you need to be honest if you're talking about your book or in your profile, it needs to say that you're an author. When you're talking about your books, they need to know that you're talking about your books. And sometimes you might accidentally do it and forget to just flat out say, I wrote this. And that's not a huge deal, but if they think you're trying to recommend it without telling them you're the author, they kind of feel betrayed. So you're all these readers by recommending books, do book review or whatever it is that you want to do as a reader. Like if you were to have a reader account, then you can pull people in and they like your content, they like you as a person, hopefully. And then you can also start talking about your work and just be honest and let them know that it's your work. And then it just kind of snowballs from there. You just have to got to find that niche. You have to make sure that you're honest with your people. And it's also really important to interact with them. Something that, this is going to sound so ridiculous, but it's kind of a motto that I live by. Years ago, I can't even say this, Justin Bieber put out a movie. If y'all remember that. And in there, they talked about how something that made him blow up so big and get such a out fan base was he started on YouTube, and his followers that started following him, they grew with him and would, interact in the comments. And so when he had success, they felt like it was their success too, because they were there with him every single step of the way. And so the most important takeaway from that is you need to interact with these people because, first of all, you need to be grateful that they even care to follow you. You need to be grateful that they even try to read your book, even if they freaking hate it. It doesn't matter. They tried it in the first place. And so you also need to make sure you're showing that appreciation. And then on top of that, I've made some of my very best friends that I talk to every single day because they started out as a follower or a reader. And that's because I tried to connect with them. And so when other people come across your videos and they see that you're interacting in a way, and it just kind of, like I said, it's a snowball effect. And it's also really important to genuine, because if someone ever meets you in person and you're not really have that same, they can see that you're being fake on your thing, they're going to talk to people and they're going to tell people. So I'm kind of a mess. If you've ever watched my videos, it's kind of out there how I am. And so I was like, I'm not going to pretend to be some put together person who knows what, because then if someone met me at a convention, they'd be like, who are you? But, that's the best advice I can give is find yourself in readers as a reader, be honest, be yourself, but you also need to get good at making videos. That's another thing is if you're going to do aesthetic videos, you need to know how to do them and do them well. If you're going to do the book making, you got to be funny, you got to be witty and think of things. I tend to think my stuff is funnier than other people do. That's probably why my memes don't get my other stuff. But I think they're fun, so whatever. If you're going to do a review or something, now I have a bad habit of I can't remember books. Like I can read a book yesterday and then not be able to read it. And so when a book I like, I done a video at 3:30 in the morning and been like, y'all, it's so good. I'll hold like
nice.
That's how I have to do my correction. But I'm also like outrageous with it. Not like or anything, but I'm just like, y'all, so good, and I liked about it. And that's what I do, and I know that that's not the best to draw people in, but how a lot of people will do recommendations and reviews that people really like and take them seriously is they will have a setup like probably similar to what I have right now. I never do videos here, but I've got my little bookshelf in the back that's like, hey, look, I read. I have a ring light that's like, I'm wearing it for the first time in like 2 weeks. You know what I mean? It's like, this is how people are gonna have people listen to them more when they're doing reviews. I don't do that. I probably should, but that's also advice I can give people whenever they are starting out. And also you have to learn, and I'm bad at this, I have to go back and edit. Don't be super wordy or bored. Like they will get so bored. So you're gonna always want to try and keep your videos as short as possible. And if you can't, and a lot of people are like that. I see a lot of people and they're super wordy, they're super long, and that's just not cool. You have to grab their attention, put on the screen or whatever you say first. You need to grab their attention and hold it, and then you need to quickly get your or whatever you're doing. And so that's really it. Niche in a niche, connect with them as readers, be genuine, know how to make your videos where people are going to want to see. That's it. I'm like, that's it.
Yeah, it's so easy. You were talking about the aesthetics. It's always easy. Yeah, it's always fun for me to point out that I had a very terrible background for a long time, and Tanya told me finally. She kept saying you need to get something, get a vinyl thing. They're easy, they're cheap. I can send you the way to the frame and everything. And I had it low on my list, and then she's like, "So, just so you know, I keep telling you this because people are asking. I love the content, but I really wish that there was something in the background other than this, like, a really bland room partition that I had." So it's like, oh, I didn't realize how much that mattered. That people actually were like, "I want to keep watching this guy, but geez, could he get something more interesting in his background?" And the people who are on screen right now all have great backgrounds, and so yeah, like all of a sudden it mattered, and I've gotten a good response. The one thing you touched on that actually helped start this whole show was you talked about being genuine with people in your videos and being able to connect with them like that. So I'm a little bit like you in that I'm kind of scattered in what I post about. I don't post incredibly often. I don't post with them like that. So I'm a little bit like you in that I'm kind of scattered in what I post about. I don't post incredibly often. I don't post about 4 or 5 different jobs / creative pursuits that I go for. So my schedule just doesn't ever, getting this Wednesday spot is the one thing that I try to keep pretty sacred. But every once in a while, somebody has to step in for me. But whenever I do a video, I do keep the same aesthetic, and I found out that BookTalk likes for me to be talking to them, and they don't care whether or not I have some crazy sound. It can just be me talking, and those views actually are usually higher. So I quit doing that. I quit searching for the trending sounds. But I think that's because I just speak genuine stuff. I speak on whatever's on my mind and on my heart, and I do keep it book related. Sometimes I think it's something funny. Sometimes I do, have the funny stuff dubbed over my voice, but yeah, it's TikTok will tell you what it wants you to have. So thank you for that masterclass. I'm sure that a lot of people down in the comments enjoyed.
I do want to say one to advice to an author, and there's 2 different tips I have for you for your background. One, if you're going to have a bookshelf, have your book displayed, because you can see that part, because readers a lot of like be peeping on your peeping. Do people even say that anymore? I'm so old. They'll be like looking at your shelf, and if they see a book, they might be like, "Hey, what's that book?" And then you can be like, "Oh, well, that's this book." Da 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 da. Whatever. And then also, I learned this from A.K. Mulford, and if you don't know who she is, she wrote the High Mountain Court, and she very successful on BookTok and Kindle Unlimited. She ended up getting like a huge deal with the publisher, like huge. And this is what she has. She has her book posters on her wall. Now she got them flipped mirror images so that when she's recording, you can actually see them like they're inverted without having to use the inverted filter. I did not do that because my office is like the only room that I decorated in my house, and so I wanted them to look normal. But a lot of times I film kind of in front of that to where you can see, and I've had like people in the comments before be like, "Hey, what book is that that's on your wall?" And I'm like, "I'm glad you asked. It's the I thought that was a really cool tip, was, you can have your book displayed somewhere in your background, whether it's a poster, it's on a bookshelf. You never know when it's going to catch a reader's attention and them ask about it.
Excellent. All right. So I did, whenever I do these panels, I love having audiobook narrators on, especially because I find that their origin stories tend to be very, very interesting. So, Eliza, I would love to know how you got into voice acting and narrating books, into voice acting and narrating books, into voice acting and narrating books.
So,
oh man. So it appears that once again TikTok has kicked everyone off. So we will try to, let me see if I can get everybody back. So apparently TikTok has been messing around with their multi guest stuff. Is the only thing I can figure. Who else even needs? All right, there we go. Let's see. I don't even know. Is that even everybody? Let's see. Who am I missing? I'm missing someone. All right. Yeah, and I sent her an invite, so she'll be okay. So I can only assume that because TikTok is trying to push out the multi-guest and they invited me on this whatever, they're probably in the back end fiddling around with the platform, and apparently there's a bug that just kicks everyone off, and it may even be at the same time. It may even be after 50 minutes in. So I'm not going to investigate it, but I am going to send TikTok a very nicely worded what on earth is going on message, because if this happens every week, that's going to be really unfortunate. So, Tanya, I'm going to once again only send an abridged version of the numbers that we got, because it's going to restart, and it's going to show that we had about 10 people watching when we all know that we had around 1,000. So anyway.
Okay. We're all good.
So
Yeah.
Eliza, you were saying that TikTok is what led you to be a voice narrator. Please start from the beginning, because that really threw me off, and I don't remember anything past that.
Oh, no worries. Yeah. Sorry for my kind of hoarse voice. I'm still getting over this cold.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But yeah, I saw a TikTok and it was like, oh, you can do this from home. And it was a very misleading TikTok. It was like, this is so easy. Anyone can do it. And honestly, I didn't care about it being easy, because I was just like, the second I knew I could do it from home, I was like, well, duh, because I've always wanted to be an actor, but I live in Seattle. You know, it's not like LA, it's not New York. So, so I immediately built my studio. I ordered all my equipment, and I like dove into learning the process. I think I did like coaching and learning about narration for a good 5 months before I touched an audition, and then I got into grad school, and I was actually kind of devastated, because I was like, oh, I'm just picking up all this momentum with my narration, and now I'm going to have this other thing pulling at my time. So it was kind of an interesting, like, I was super excited to have gotten in, but like very sad, because I love narration so much. So it ended up working out really well. Like I said, I've only been doing like a book every 2 months. And then I've been doing a lot of coaching with some of the best names in the industry, which has been really fun. So I've been doing that for a good year and a half. And yeah, it's been a wild ride and a fun ride. And I couldn't be happier to be a voice actor, voice artist.
Well, I have a voice for print and a face for radio, so that's why I write. No, and it's interesting, because since I started doing this live stuff, it was originally for my job, and I was doing it on Zoom for BookTalk, which is one of the companies that I work for, doing editing and author services, and I was super nervous. I'm still, I would still call myself camera shy. But if you look at the first videos I did for video training courses and stuff, I look like I'm being taken hostage, and the only way for me to get out of the situation is to explain to you how to write a better book. Like, if I don't do that, there's a machete waiting just off camera. But live I'm fine. I go to conferences, and I'm on panels, and all this stuff. I mean, the big ballrooms, hundreds of people, and I'm totally fine. And I think it's because I can't see myself, and I'm like, well, I'm here. I need to just do this thing and have fun while I'm doing it. But if I'm looking at a little icon of myself, it has been very hard for me to not be self-conscious. And I'm a big guy. My weight fluctuates terribly, so I have some issues in that department. Nothing like I'm sure that you all face on a daily basis. But I still, getting in front of a camera and being live is not my favorite thing in the world to do. So we stopped doing that for work, because we're always moving to a new platform, it seems like. And I said, well, TikTok has this live thing. I have enough people. I need to go ahead and do that, just to exercise that muscle, so that whenever my boss is like, hey, let's start doing that again, I don't have to go through all of that, building up and, having a little anxiety attack before I go on every time. So I decided I'm just going to do this every week. And then Tanya, who unbeknownst to me was a fan, got on the live and said, hey, so there are ways you can do this better. Let me help you. And I'm like, okay, I will take the help. And so, 20 episodes later, here we are. But that's a very long way for me to say that I very much admire anybody who can, be a voice actor and be an on-camera or stage actor. I'm starting to get into the world of, short independent films with a friend of mine. And let me tell you, it's, the first skit with the first little thing we did, it was me and her, Jordan is her name. And, being on camera was not easy in that respect. And I didn't even have any lines except for one, which I ended up doing an ADR. I ended up dropping in a recording because our mic wasn't where it needed to be. So yeah, like I have all the respect in the world for voice narrators and those of you who also aspire to be on stage and on camera. What's the interesting thing is whenever I talk to authors, and I want to ask the authors on the panel, do you have your books out in audiobooks, and if you do, what did you learn from that first time whenever you hooked up with a voice actor and you had to talk about different aspects of your book? Because for me, it was, hey, how do you pronounce this thing? I'm like, I don't know. I just have to know how to spell it. I don't have to know how to pronounce it. So, I was like, I wish I had a better answer, but I really don't. So for the authors, have you had your book turned into an audiobook, and what was that experience like the first time?
So I can actually both the experience of, then I signed a deal with Podium for anthology. So I'm like dealing with that. When I did it myself, I didn't know anything about it. I just got on ACX. I did the royalty share. I could drop thousands of dollars on an audiobook. I got lucky enough to find a company. They were called like Centennial on there, and I'll narrate. I didn't really talk to them a lot. I was like, here's the pronunciation guide. Here's the stuff. And with them, they didn't really ask. Well, they said, is there anything you want us to know? They didn't go through like how Podium does and the difference. Like, is there anything you need us to know? And I was like, no. And kind of just did it and to approve the audiobook on my own. And then it went out, and that was my first series. So it's kind of a mediocre series, and it doesn't really do very well. It does okay. It doesn't do bad. It just doesn't do well. But when I signed this deal with Podium, this is where I kind of learned like they're real professional, obviously. But before I did that, I worked with Nikki Gray and Marcus Rain because I was going to have them do my audiobook because I was going to fund it myself. And I wanted to duet. And they did promo lines for me. And they were the first ones that we would sit down and we would video chat. And I'd be like, this is the kind of voice I want them to have. Like for Caius, who's my main character, I wanted him, this is so ridiculous, to have a slight British accent. And I didn't want his voice. I didn't want it too high. I wanted it really smooth. And so Marcus and I kind of would send me samples, and he would sample it in video. And that's when I was like, these are the type of narrators I want to work with. So when Podium approached and I sent it to my agent, I told my agent, I was like, these are the two narrators I was going to use, and I want to still use them. And so she got it approved for dual, not duet, which is fine. And I gave them their names. Now, they weren't with Podium, and I was just kind of like crossing my fingers. And Podium actually reached out to them. I think he got approved. She is doing the audiobook. And they haven't reached out to me about male narrators yet, but they did add Marcus to their roster. So I'm hoping that that's a good sign. And so, but with Podium, they send you like this entire list. You have to give them a full synopsis of every book that's in it. You have to like detail each like main character and each of the like main side characters matter, and talk about their personality, they are. And so the self ACX and then doing this one is when I learned the difference between producing an audiobook and producing a great audiobook. And it all has to do with, if you're by yourself, you're going to want narrators that are going to sit down with you and really talk this out with you. And if you go with a publishing house, you want to make sure that they're thorough like that. And if you're doing it on your own, it's real expensive, especially if you want to use narrators, but it's so worth it, in my opinion. Just because, like I said, I've seen the difference between, narrators who are just like, is there anything you want us to know? And if you don't know what you're doing and you're kind of like, no, then that's it. I didn't even know what I needed to tell them until I started doing the promo lines with Market and working with Podium. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, these are the questions, that they need to know, because they're in these, it's acting. It's acting. Just like people would act and they give characters life, and then just hearing, Marcus and Nikki say lines for my characters, I was like, freaking awesome. I would have paid probably $1 million if I had to do it myself. I mean, but then also if you just want your audiobook out there and you can't afford it, the royalty shares is a great way to get it done cheaper. And so you have to go with what you work with. But I would tell you that if you do that, if the narrator doesn't ask you questions, you ask them if you sit down and talk with them. I didn't know that. And now I do now. And like I said, it is the complete difference in an audiobook and a great audiobook.
I just have to like hop on and say that it's like super exciting for Marcus and his wife. I don't know if his wife got in with Podium too, but like Podium is one of the harder publishers to work with as narrators. Well, like they want you to have more books under your belt before they like usually even look at you or respond to your emails. So I'm just taking a moment to do like a little clap for them, because I know that's like a really exciting thing as a narrator to get in with them. Anyways, I digress.
But yeah, like
out, but he did get on Podium roster. I was a rat about it. And my agent was like, "Well, they don't normally do that." And I was like, "Can you ask? Like, can you ask? Because can you please ask?" Yeah. And he did. My agent, their firm is great. They really went to bat for me on that one, even though they were probably like, "Oh my god!" But they did it without complaint and got it approved. And so I was like, "I'll send you a Christmas card." I don't know. I'll send them Starbucks.
Roisin, are any of your books audiobooks?
So the thriller that I wrote before I assumed this pen name, it has an audiobook. I can't say anything about it because I don't really want that connected with me now.
Yeah.
But that has an audiobook, and it was through the publishing house. I didn't have anything to do with who was assigned to it. With the Reverse Harem, I think it'd be difficult because it's multiple point of view. In the dream world, I would probably want to have that as an audio book series, but I don't know. I have no plans for it right now anyway.
Well, one thing that
I'm sorry, Rick. Roisin, have you had any experience with any of the authors or with any of the narrators getting in touch with them and personally asking them about your book?
No, I have not.
Do you want help with that?
That is something down the line that I think would be incredible. I don't know what that process would really be like, because I think there's a bit of a challenge when you have multiple point of view and it's more than just two people.
Eliza is right here, and I'm sure she can give you a lot of advice on that, and she even does a lot of 2-point views. Eliza?
Yeah. You can, depending on whether you're wanting to pay narrators up front or you're wanting to do royalty share, it's tricky to do multiple narrators on one project with royalty share, because most places only do a 2-way split, and even that you're only getting 20% each with that. So if you're splitting it much beyond that, you're gonna get like 85 cents every sale. It'd be crazy. But you can find narrators.
Like publishing a book.
Yeah. I mean, the trend nowadays is to have multiple narrators and have like different people voice each POV. But you can definitely find narrators who can do different POVs and do them well. I'm not bragging on myself, but I do multiple POVs for April. But usually her books only have 2 POVs, so it's easier, and I can give I can make them really distinct. But yeah, it's up to the narrator. You just want to make sure you're auditioning them and hearing what they can do and if they can do it convincingly. So totally doable.
And if Eliza can't do it for you, I do know several narrators that do a really good job on doing 2-point views as well. So just get in touch with me as well. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much, both of you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And that's what I was going to say. Like Tanya was taking words out of my mouth. Like, one of the things that we like doing on the show and that it's good for is, people find out things and then they are able to connect with each other. So definitely get a hold of Tanya. She knows, there are several couples who do, dual men and women narrators. They're probably at least, 2 or 3 are down in the comments. I'm sure they usually are. So, but anyway, I'm glad that, that's going to be something that happens, because Sometimes people just aren't sure about how it works, and that's, we love explaining that kind of stuff on here. April, do you have any of your books out in audiobook? And if so, tell us about it.
I do, and it's funny. That's how I actually found Eliza on TikTok, because I didn't understand the process, and
Right.
I was like, so effing expensive. Who the hell? And I was like, I can only do royalty share right now, but I'm like, nobody's gonna want to work with me. Like, that's so stupid. And then all of a sudden my inbox was flooded, and I was like, well, that was weird. And I did even audition some like teams. So, like husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend teams. But I had made the TikTok. I wanted to do my series. And there are dual point of views, but in each book is a different couple. And there's men and women. There's also my second book in that series is a sapphic romance. So it would have been complicated, I think, to try to work with the same narrators all the way through, not needing a man's point of view in the second book at all. And I just really fell in love with Eliza so much. Not just because, she obviously has a voice like butter, but she was so willing to work with me. And she was like, here's my first audition, because if you don't like it, you tell me what you want them to sound like and I'll do it again. And I was like, okay, now that right there is exactly what I want. Like somebody who cares about my characters. And I told her, I was like, so here's like, I told her, I was like, I don't know anything about this, because these are, I've only been an author for a short amount of time to begin with. And I love audiobooks. So this is kind of a big deal for me. But I don't know what I don't know. Like Jamie was saying, like, you don't know what to ask. So Eliza was so patient with me. And she went through a ton of stuff, but she wanted a lot of information from me about the characters and the place and like the vibe of the book and stuff like that. So, and even
I gave
now,
her
like,
homework.
she sure did. I was like, a character sheet? What the hell is that? I was like, cause I'm a pantser. I don't have a character Bible. I don't have notes. I have nothing. I sit down and write books and then I edit them, So I was like, what are you talking about? So I had to sit down and make character sheets for all of these people. And it was an interesting process. And I told her, a little bit about the future characters as well. And this woman was like, oh, so she's Portuguese, basically, heavy Portuguese accent. Okay. So she started learning, how to do a Portuguese accent. And I mean, for half of the book, she has a pretty significant Portuguese accent. And I was just in awe listening back, because part of the process, at least I hired her independently. She does work for some publishers, but I hired her independently. And I don't know how the other process works, but with me, once she sends me the file, I listen to it and just make sure everything, like there were nothing missed. Like it's been edited, but I still do like a once over once I get the whole file. And the whole time, like I kept missing whole sections because I just was listening and I was like, how is she doing this? So it was crazy. But yeah, so she's done the first 2 books of my series. Those are already out. And she's working on book 3. The recording is done. It's being edited right now. So I think we're shooting for the end of the month. Is that like, I don't want to put her on the spot. Like,
yeah, it should be out by the end of the month, because I should be finished editing hopefully in the next 7 days, and then it'll go to processing for ACX to approve it, and then out by the end of the month. Woo.
Stupid cold though
Awesome.
slowed down a little bit, because like in editing, I guess, and I have not told her anything, but she was listening back and she was like, hey, just so you know, like there's a chapter not in there because I'm just going to redo it. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I haven't even heard it. But she's such a perfectionist. So I never find anything, because she will not even let me hear it until it's perfect. So most of the messages she gets from me is like, oh my God, this was so awesome. And oh my God, I just laughed my ass off. And oh my God, how did you do this? So, and listening back to her do it is like reliving a totally different story. But yeah, we hooked up on TikTok because I made like and I don't do them often, but it was like a woe is me video. Like, I really want to do this, but holy crap, just like the initial checking into it, the process seemed really overwhelming. And seriously, like the going rates for narrators was kind of pricey. And if you followed me for any length of time, you know I don't have money. Like, I had nothing when I started publishing. So, and I still don't have very much. So I was like, I kind of said, like, do I just have to wait? Like, am I being selfish to want this now, you know? And she was like, hello, I'm over here. So, and I did speak with some really great narrators. That's the thing. Like, I only got some really great people that auditioned for me. But I know I've had a lot of friends that went through the process, and going through ACX was like a nightmare for them. And they had some like very poor sounding audio sent back, and then people who were just really unprofessional. And that's the thing. Like, I didn't actually put my audition on ACX. Everybody I talked to was from TikTok videos. And I think my friend in the comment and the section down there, she found Marcus through TikTok, and he's going to do one of her series, and I think Blanca also is doing her other series. And like, all of these people are all connected through TikTok. Like, we didn't submit auditions anywhere. We just like found these people on the magical app, so.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, finding narrators through TikTok and having that personal connection is great because, like Jamie, my first audiobook experience was through a publisher, and I was told that a surprise, it's going to be an audiobook. Like, oh, okay, and then I didn't hear anything until the narrator reached out to me about, hey, do you know how to pronounce this? And I'm like, oh, so you're my audiobook narrator. Like, I was totally out of it. I didn't get to preview any of it. It turns out that it was his first time to do it, which nothing against first timers, but it ended up they asked him not to do any accents. And like myself and like Jamie, my characters were from Texas. So, and this guy was from like New York. And so that didn't always jibe. And so, nothing against the narrator. He was doing what he was hired to do. But that just did not work out very well whenever there was no personal connection to me or to the story. And so, even though it can be a pain, and Blue Handle, the publisher I work for, I think my boss Charles is in the comments. It is a painstaking, long process. But I'll tell you what, it is so much better to have that quality product out there that is good, rather than being like me, who it was out there one day and if people ask, yes, deep background, there is an audiobook, you can listen to it. If you like audiobooks, please don't give it a 1 star, even if you want to. If Steve, the audiobook narrator, is out there listening or hears this, I know it wasn't you. We've talked about it. It was a bunch of circumstances that were beyond our control because we were both brand new to the process, which is why it's always nice that we have so many people on here, and a lot of the narrators that are down in the comments, or know some of them, they like giving out advice to new audiobook narrators, to authors who are using for the first time. And, just get in their DMs and ask them and communicate with them, because that is so important. The audiobook narration and the cover and the editing are the 3 things that are the most expensive usually in the book process if you are going to do an audiobook. But man, are they the most worth it too. Is your editing and your cover and your audiobook, all 3, it takes about 3 seconds of viewing, reading, or listening to know whether or not it is going to be an enjoyable experience or not. And so, for those of you who are indie publishers and you're starting your own small business, those are the 3 things. And the cover and the editing has to be done no matter what. But those are the things to find someone quality and to not skimp on, because they will hurt book sales. Like, if that's what you're worried about, then it is going to hurt your book sales. And if it's about the art, then obviously those are the 2 things that you really want to get in there. We don't have any cover models this week. Usually whenever we do that, we can get about at least a 50% bump on our viewership whenever Tony comes on. So Tony, you need to see if he can make a drop in next week, just so we can make sure to keep those numbers up. No, but that was fascinating too. Like all the tangentially related businesses to writing a book and publishing a book are always so fascinating to me, because the other ones I kind of know, but I always learn more about how covers get made and how the modeling works and how the audiobooks work every time I have one of those on the panel. So that's selfish of me. I'll go ahead. We're reaching the top of the hour. I'll do another reset for those of you who might just be joining us. This is Book Talk on Book Talk. We have a great panel. We have Jamie Applegate Hunter, who is super popular on TikTok and writes fantastic books. Roisin Visser writes reverse harem novels, which are an excellent trope in the romance world. We have April Berry, who writes sweet and steamy romances, which I would say means just real life romances. Don't put baby in a corner. And we have Eliza Summers, who's our narrator and who is over her cold, and she likes the song Smelly Cat. Both, that's puts her way up top in my book. And by the way, your voice sounds fine. It sounds better than mine does whenever I'm perfectly healthy. So do not worry at all. And of course, we have Tanya Celtic Blue. She is our moderator, and she also is the show's executive producer. And she runs My Life on TikTok, and she does for several others. So if you are in the gift-giving mood and you can only give one, give it to her, because she has earned it more than most people on the planet. So, and we do appreciate all the gifts, all the likes. We have about another hour to go, and we're almost to 10,000 likes. It used to be if we could cross 10,000 likes at the end of 2 hours, we were celebrating. So this is great. The more likes, the more shares. If you think somebody is going to appreciate our panel with these authors and narrators, let them know. And apparently, because I'm the host, I'm in some sort of contest wherein the more of all that stuff I get, the higher I am on some leaderboard. I don't know. I'm not going to do any more research, but I feel like I should mention that because TikTok probably wants me to mention that. And let's hope they don't kick everyone out again, because that happened like 30 minutes ago. So here's the fingers crossed. We have a whole hour to go, but we've covered a lot of ground. Tanya, did you have any questions that we have not asked yet that need to be discussed by any of our great panelists?
Yes, well, I have a ton. All right. So I know that several of the people on the panel here have some very important things to discuss. And I want to start with Roisin, because she's been so quiet lately. But if she could start, then we could move to April and Eliza, and then we could move to Jamie. That would be fantastic. Go ahead, Roisin.
Let's do it.
What is your new and exciting stuff that you want to let everybody know about?
I just had a release of the third book in my Twisted Ties series. It came out on March 7th, and that's Twisted Games. It's number 3 of 4 in the series. The 4th will come out in May. It is Reverse Harem, Why Choose Suspense.
Mm-hmm. And how is it doing so far since you've released it?
Can I say that I'm afraid to look? I've been afraid.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't looked. I do a thing where I psych myself out if I really pay attention, and I can't pay attention right now. I'm just in the thick of doing a second edit on the 4th book, and I'm just kind of in that world and not looking.
Okay, so how did the first 2 books do? How did your first 2 books do?
So the first book, I think the biggest thing always will be finding the readers and getting the book out there. But there's so much about the first book that if I could, I would go back in and maybe do different editing things. It might be a little bit of a imposter syndrome creeping in, or I'm not sure what it is, but I'm not entirely happy with the first book of the series.
Mm-hmm.
The second I'm happier with. The third I'm really happy with. I don't know. I think it's a progressive thing. And once the series is done, I'm toying with the idea of going back in and changing up book 1.
Okay.
So I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you kind of did. And I think that imposter syndrome does happen to all of us. I know that it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to April. I'm not sure. Jamie kind of is the perfect writer there for a while. So I got the laugh. Yay.
I will say this. I don't know any author who, when somebody says, "Ooh, which one of your books should I start with?" I don't know anyone that says you should start with the first book I ever wrote. I've not yet heard one author who says that. So that is what you're experiencing is growing as a writer, and that's a great thing. Every author should always say, "Read the latest book I wrote because it's the best one I wrote," because that should be every writer's goal, in my opinion. How do y'all feel about that?
Oh, yeah. I beg people they haven't read my books to not read my Royals of Rodina series first. I'm like, please start with Umber King. And if you don't read. But like I said, I'm going back and I'm going to be taking the Royals of Rodina series down, and I'm going to be doing completely rewrites. It's not a standalone series, which was really dumb on my part because each book in the trilogy, it's a fantasy. Each book in the trilogy revolves around a different couple. Why did I do that? And so I'm going in rewriting. Book 1 and 3 won't change a lot. I'm just my writing style's improved a lot. But book 2, I'm completely dissolving. I'm splitting up a couple. They're getting their own book with love interests. Like, I'm just like ripping this apart. And so right now it's still out. And if anyone's like, "Oh, I want to read your books," I'm like, Umber King, I haven't read anything else. Don't read anything else.
So I apologize to Tanya.
Yeah, Roisin, see, you are just doing the traditional path that every author has ever done. So don't feel like you're being an imposter or, you don't have the right work to put out there. You just have to go for it and give it the gusto.
Right, and I feel like I changed up my writing style from the book I had traditionally published, which was a thriller. I did something completely different. I tried to go out of the box. I might have stepped a little too far out of the box sometimes.
There's no such thing.
So, and I think just readjusting to how I write now, which was different from how I wrote then. And I feel like, I had a lot of hands propping me up before when I did the traditional publishing route. I don't know. I think, like Rick said, you have to develop and you have to grow with your writing, and I'm doing that. I'm working on that. So.
And we're so happy to have you do that with us. April, you and Eliza, what is your information that you've got coming up?
So she's working on book 3 of my club series. It's called Saved. Served and Stroked are already out and available on Audible. They're also in Kindle Unlimited. Saved should be out by the end of the month, though. And also, can I make a quick little plug? I have a charity anthology coming out on Friday.
Absolutely.
100% of the proceeds are going to the National Women's Shelter. It's called Straighten Your Crown. There's 15 authors, and it actually originated. One of my friends and I have a writer Discord because one thing I like to do, TikTok is a reader space. I treat it as a reader space. I don't talk shop on TikTok. But I needed a space for that, and I know so many other authors do. So we have a Discord, and we were, throwing ideas around. Yep. Thank you, Desi. We were tossing ideas around, and we decided, you know what, we're going to do this, and we'll do it for charity. And it's only authors that are in our Discord group. And we wanted it to be kind of women driven. So that's why we went with that charity. And they're not all romance stories. It's actually different genres. It's just different writers from within our Romance Riot group. So there are a lot of romance authors in there, though, obviously, because it's called the Romance Riot. But we're welcoming of everybody. We even have a few men in there that write sci-fi and fantasy, and they put up with our shenanigans, and they usually have really great advice. And I think they enjoy our craziness sometimes. But that comes out Friday. It will be in Kindle Unlimited, but we are trying to get a few more pre-orders by Friday. So if anybody wants, the link is in my bio for that. So
you have a list of the other authors that are part of it?
Do what?
Do you have the list of the other authors that are part of it?
Well, so Kyla down there in the comments, she's on it. Also Kate Prada. We have Sherry Williams, Kim Ringer, Lori-Ann Cohen, which I love Lori. She writes great paranormal smutty smut. And Kyla has an MC series that she writes. So if you like MC, you have to check it out. Also, Mama Mouse down there. She's one of the authors. God, this is so many people. I feel like I put out the spot. I'm like, who am I forgetting?
You didn't know you had to study, huh?
And yeah, Mama Mouse, Jessie actually, Eliza won an award for her book. She narrated it and she won an award for that one. So like small little circle. Leona, thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, Kyla, you're the best. And Tara, oh my God, I'm having a moment. What's her last name? Too much information. I'm sorry. Like in my defense, I'm really sleep deprived right now. My husband had shoulder surgery a week and a half ago, and so it's been rough around here for everybody. He's got it way worse than me, but we sleep in the same bed, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I believe Tara's last name is Tappan.
But so there's a ton of really amazing people in there that are within our group. And again, not all of it is romance, but there's a ton of romance in there. Really great stories though. And they're all they all have an Easter egg of a queen. That's why it's Straighten Your Crown. And they have to have really strong friendships. And it's supposed to be like very femme driven, but doesn't necessarily have to be women, okay? Because we're a very diverse group of people. But we really wanted to drive home like the very strong femme relationships and, straighten your crown. So we got some queens in there for sure. But that comes out this Friday on St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you for that. Out of the books that are coming out just recently for you yourself, who are your favorite characters out of that series?
From my club series?
Yes.
God. So Jason and Lucy are the OGs, and they obviously carry through the whole series, and I think they have a really big chunk of my heart. But I don't know that I can say I have favorites, but I do love them. And yeah, everybody's got their favorite main male characters from my books. So it
looks like Team Jason is winning.
Yeah, a lot of people do love Jason. I don't.
I'm a Mike gal.
Oh my God, have you read my book, Rasheen?
Yes, I have.
And the funny thing is everybody was talking about how they tell people don't read my debut. Surge was my debut. It was not perfect. But that's kind of my whole brand is listen, I'm a mess. And I'm very vocal. Like that was my debut. Yes, it gets better, I promise. But the thing is like in my head at first I was like, oh gosh, every book after that has been so much better. But people really latched on to the story, I guess, and don't care that the writing wasn't as great as it is now, and it's still not great. It's mediocre all the time, but that
humble.
But and yeah, Odin, everybody likes Odin from the holiday story, but it was a fan favorite, and it's like, who am I to tell my readers and my fans who love this book that it sucks? You know what I mean? Like if they love it, they love it. So thank you. see that's the thing. Like I don't want to say that book was not good because it's a fan favorite. So I guess people either just like really love the characters or the writing, or like they just don't care. Like they can look past whatever issues I feel like it has. And it's we don't need to talk about it now either, Peggy Sue. But seriously, redheaded stepchild. But I am very vocal about it because everybody loves the book. So but like I will say like, hey, that was my debut. Just PSA. going in, show me some grace. But it's still got the most reviews and it's the most read book that I have still. And I'm like, and people, I have read through, that's the thing. So it's always like, you always worry when you know that people are reading or people are buying that one book and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to lose them forever. And then they pick up the rest of the series and then they start picking up all my other books and they're commenting and they're following me. Like I have so many names I recognize on here. So I've been like, oh my God, all night. And like I've commented to one person and she was like, I'm fangirling. I was like, why? Like,
that's all authors.
Like I'm like, why? Like, who are you fangirling over somebody else? But I don't know. Like, I really like internally, I'm always like, oh God, they're gonna hate it, but most people don't. And I've tried, like, I have a group of friends, and I have a lot of seasoned authors that they've taken me under their wing, and they're like, honey, the book's not going to be for everybody, so just find your readership. And apparently, I've done okay with that part of it. So.
Yes, you have.
Like everybody else, like I've gotten a few onesie twosies that weren't fantastic reviews. But for the most part, like my average is really good. I'm really comfortable with what it is. And people continue to read all of my other books. So I'm like, I guess it's not as bad as I thought it was, but I will say, I mean, like my books are really quick, easy reads. They're not going to break your brain. A lot of dark romance readers love my books. They're like, there's my palate cleanser author, because they read all their dark romance stuff and then they pick up my book to like bring them back into happy time, I guess, because it's sweet. But like my characters are not cookie cutter characters either. They're all flawed. The main female characters usually piss everybody off at some point. Even the men kind of do dumb things sometimes too, but that's the thing. Like I write people that could be real people. And it's just in real life, people are not perfect, you know what I mean? So I just write them that way. But I will absolutely pick up like a completely sweet romance that is so predictable, because sometimes you just need that too, especially if you have been reading a lot of like darker stuff. You just need to be reminded that there's humanity out there,
Right.
So, but that's kind of the badge that I wear with honor now, is like all of my dark romance readers come to me when they're like, okay, I just need to come back into the light for just a minute, and then I'll be back over to the dark side, So
It'd be an interesting ad campaign to target dark romance readers and say, hey, just got done with a book that absolutely destroyed you. My book will remind you that, will bring back your faith in humanity. That sounds like a winner to me.
I got the best review on one of my rom-coms the other day, and she literally says in the review, I usually don't read these kind of books, but time and time again, I pick up April's books, and what is she putting in this, and why like this? And I'm like, I'm sorry that I brought you to the light, so it's really, it's funny to see. Now I have a lot of people who obviously just really do enjoy rom-coms and stuff, see, Peggy Sue said that's how she got me. Definitely though, like it's so hilarious to me to see how many dark romance readers, because like when people were doing their year-end wrap-up, I was tagged in all these videos, and you would see all these really like beautiful, intricate, obviously very dark romance books with like the skulls and all the flowers and the blood and stuff. And then you see my pink cartoon cover fly in there, and I was like, well, that's weird, but okay. I just love it. I'm like, I love that the dark romance people dig my books, because like I feel like that's a lot of competition out there. So it's neat that they come back around to me when they need a little something sweeter.
Yeah. We need to catch Jamie before her phone dies.
Yes.
She's been scrambling to try and get it plugged in.
Hey, I've done that. First live I did, we had to kill the short.
Light, so it might fall a time or two, but I have it plugged in. We're fine.
Go ahead, Jamie, with what you... Oh, I'm sorry, April?
I had a reader that asked if this book was in paperback yet, and I just got this in today. So yes, they are in paperback because I had to bundle them together.
Great. Thank you for letting us know that. I had to make a quick note for it. Jamie, go ahead and tell us your great news.
Okay, I actually have kind of a lot going on. I guess I wrote a list when you said I was going to need to do this. I wasn't prepared. So probably the soonest thing I have coming up is, so people who have followed me, I don't really know if many of my followers are here, but people who have followed me know that I put all of my books up for free on Kindle every 3 months. I do it that way because I want people to be able to read my book, like regardless of their financial status. And so I just, put them up for a few days so that people can grab them and then read them later or whenever they want. So Umbra King is actually going to be free for 3 days leading up to the release of Eternum, which is the second/final book in the duology. So if there's anyone who's been wanting to read it and they don't have KU and they, couldn't really afford it, or just didn't want to pay for it, it will be free. So that's the first thing I have coming up. So my Royals of Rodina series, but we know how I feel about that. The next is directly after that on the 28th, I have Eternum releasing. It is the second book in the duology. It is a big boy compared to book one. I thought it was going to be shorter than book one when I started writing it. And by the time I was finished with revisions, I wanted to bawl my eyes out. I was like, I don't even like reading big books. How did this happen? And then, of course, Podium's working on the Umbra King audiobook. Umbra King has a special edition that has an exclusive paperback cover for the End Bookish box that will be coming out in May. They put it in their dark romance book box. Orders stop on April 1st for that. They just announced it on Friday, and I spoke with the owner, and she said that they had so many orders come in that she's afraid that they're going to have to limit how many. So that was really surprising.
Good problem to have.
This is the most important. It will also be in another book box later in the year. I just don't know what month. We finalized the cover on that one today, actually. And both book boxes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so scatterbrained. Eternum for the End Bookish box. They just put it on pre-order today. They decided to go ahead and put Eternum into the box with the Umbra King. So if you want the Eternum that has the matching cover to the Umbra King in the End Bookish box, then you can get that. When I'm working on the covers with the other box, we've also done the Eternum ones, but I don't know if they're going to do it together, if they're going to do it separate. And then I had 2 shops reach out to me, and I actually signed contracts with them today. They bought the license to do Umbra King merch. One of them is going to be doing the character candles. Oh, I'm so excited. And then the most important thing, I can't believe I forgot to say this first. So every single month on the 15th, I open up a form. I sell a certain amount of paperback books that are signed, and $10 of every book signed, which is the profit, goes to Project Night Night at the end of the month. I do it every month, and I just put up the form for the March ones. So sometimes they sell out fast, and sometimes it kind of takes the end of the month for them to sell out. But if you ever wanted a Umbra King signed copy, this is the only way to get them other than finding me in person at a signing or winning a giveaway. So if you want my scribble, it'll be giving to a good cause. If you don't want my scribble, then you can just go to Project Night Night's website and just donate through there. It's all through PayPal. Project Night Night, they donate a canvas bag that has a stuffed animal, a security blanket, and an age-appropriate book to homeless children under the age of 12. So it's a really cool charity. So far, from my signed paperbacks, we've been able to donate about $1,000 to their organization. So that's pretty cool. Last month, there were 3 book talkers that donated $100 with it when they found out about it. And then this month, they're the End Bookish box, actually, that's doing the book box in May with the Umber King, is giving like up to $100 as well to Project Night Night from the profits of the boxes. And then I think Jen from Books and Beer, she has a company where a certain percentage is going to be going to the organization as well, because it's just a really cool organization. They're based out of California. So yeah, that's the most important one, is Project Night Night. That's the one I like to tell everybody about. And then there's all the other stuff. That's it. Oh, and sorry, I have another book that's going to be coming out hopefully at the end of summer. The pre-order date is December 31st because with Amazon, you can move it up, but you can't move it back. So I put it at the end of the year. It is actually a spinoff of the Winkler series. When book 1 came out, I had people flooding my DMs and comments asking me to give Sam, who is a side character in the book, his own book. And I had already been thinking about it because, fun fact, I was this close to making him the love interest whenever I wrote his first scene. And authors understand what I'm saying. When you start to write a scene with the character, sometimes they just like take over. And I was that close, but I loved Caius, the main character, so much that I was like, no. So I'd already kind of toyed with giving Sam his own book. And so we've decided to. I already have it all plotted out. I was so excited. I actually already have the cover made, and I haven't even written one word of it. That's how excited I am. So, I commissioned the art and then basically attacked my book cover designer who did the Winkler series. And I was like, I need to get this cover done because I can't stop thinking about it. And so I'm really excited about that. And that's coming out, later on in the year, hopefully into summer. If anyone reads Eternum, there is an excerpt at the end of Eternum that kind of gives you the blurb for Silenced Fate, because I haven't released it yet because it's kind of it's going to be a standalone, but I do have to warn people before they even read the blurb, like, hey, this is a spoiler for the Winkler duology, so if you were ever thinking about reading it, you might want to read that one first, but you don't have to. Because all of my books, including the Royals of Rodina, it's all a multiverse. And so if anyone has read all of my series, a lot of people that read Royals of Rodina and loved it and then read Umber King didn't catch that it was the same multiverse, even though there was an exact story told in book 2 of Royals of Rodina that was told in the Umber King. And so, all my books are interconnected, and that's what I've got going on this year.
Oh, thank you for sharing that with us. I appreciate it.
Is that all? Is that all?
No, I did want to come back to Eliza because I didn't give her a chance to mention anything because I noticed that Jamie was fighting with her phone there, and I didn't want to lose her before she got her message in. So, Eliza, is there anything that you've got coming up that we need to know about?
Just a few new releases. I don't know if Jessie's still in the comment, Mama Mouse, but I'll be recording her next book in the series, the Dark Stellar Legacy series that Scythia, the first book, we won a Pulp Sci-Fi Award for. So I'm reading book 2.
Congratulations.
Yeah, book 2, Uthraith, is next on my recording schedule. I'm finishing up a book now that I am not allowed to announce yet. It's for Tantor, so it's not up for pre-sale yet, so I don't get to talk about it, sadly, but it's a cozy mystery and it's so fun. And then of course April's book is going to be out by the end of the month, so it's a fun time for me. Other than that, like, since I'm not like selling anything, or I'm not writing any books, I'm not as cool as you guys. I'm just like, the only other exciting thing in my life, which is like super exciting for me as a narrator, I have this like coaching thing that I'm doing, and oh my gosh, it's a big deal. It happens like once, maybe twice a year. It sells out really fast, but this one sold out within hours. I happen to get one of the spots, and it was super exciting. So I get to meet 6 different big publishers, so 5 of the big 5. And then I forget who was the other one that's going to be there. But it's like a really big deal because I'm trying to get in on some of their rosters, so I get to read for them, and also get feedback and coaching from them. So wish me luck, because my first event is with Simon and Schuster this Friday. So,
congrats.
All right.
Clapping all the way around. Oh my goodness. That
Super
must be
exciting.
so exciting for you. Rick, I do have one more thing to say. There are some people in the audience that also donate to Operation Night Night or Project Night Night. And those two people that I know of are Jen from Books and Beer and Mary Ann as well. So if we could give them a little bit of acknowledgement for their assistance in that program, I'd really appreciate it. And after that,
Absolutely.
those were all the questions I had. So you can take over the show again, Rick.
No, hey, like, my goal for you is to get to where you are comfortable and like narrating the show, and you can do it half the time, and that way, you can get all the host diamonds and payment and all that stuff. Like, that's, I would love that for you. So, I mean, I'm probably going to do that. Maybe we can do it every second hour is the Tanya hour. I loved it. So yes, thank you to Books and Beer, and thank you to everyone who donates to those charities, because not everyone donates to charities, and most of us here are not millionaires, so don't have a whole lot of extra cash. So that's always wonderful. And to those of you who are giving gifts to us individually, we love that too. Us small creators will take every quarter we get, or whatever it is that TikTok pays us for those gifts that you send. And some of them have been cool. The one with the gloves and the lightning coming out like the magic, that was the first time I'd seen that. So that was freaking cool. So not only is it a little money in our pocket, but sometimes it's just like a little treat, visually while we're sitting here talking. So we enjoy those, hopefully as much or more as you do sending them. The one question I had before we wrap this up was for Roisin, without giving anything away. You referenced the thriller that you wrote that was traditionally published. What was that experience like, and what was it that led you to independently publish, other than just falling down the rabbit hole of why choose romance?
Right. It was a great experience. I had a follow-up in the works with the same publishing house, and the direction I saw myself going and the direction that they wanted me to go were a little different, at odds. The second book that I had in the works kind of soured things for me. And it was at that point that I just felt I just lost my creative mojo, and I didn't see myself going in that direction anymore. I kind of had writer's block. I had other things going on, and I stepped away. And it had been years since writing when I fell into RH, why choose. So yeah, the first experience I had was great. I would encourage people, if that's something that they had wanted to do and they're doing self-publishing now, to query and find an agent and go that route. It can be a really good experience. For me, as time went on, it became less so. And that's just my experience. It's not everyone's. So yeah, I don't know if that answered it. I'm trying to be
absolutely.
I'm trying to be very, yeah.
It's similar to what mine was actually. I had a book that came out right in the middle of COVID, and that did what it did for sales, unfortunately. But it's called Let the Guilty Pay. It's one of my favorite books. Whenever somebody says, "What's the one book of yours I should read?" I actually point to that one, which is not my latest book. I know I kind of said that generally, but that's always going to be my favorite book. And books are not children. You can't have a favorite. Don't ever let anyone lie to you. You can have a favorite book. You probably cannot have a favorite child. I wouldn't know. I'm not a father, but anyway, and so that was a too big deal. And so I tried to write a sequel, and you made the right choice by stepping away, I think, and not publishing something like that, because I didn't. I said, I have to fulfill this. Everyone says writing a series is the way to go. At the time, I didn't realize that my hero was really an anti-hero and should not and could not carry a series. But I did not know that at the time, and everyone knows that writing a series is generally the more profitable business model. It's what everyone wants. Not that I was pressured into it, but that's just the road I tried to go down. And that I won't say I'm not proud of the book. It's out there. People bought it the other day down in Lubbock at Wildlark Books, and so I hope they have a good reading experience. But as a writing experience and as an editing experience working with my publisher, it was not the best. And I probably early on should have said, you know what, I don't think this is going to work. Can I try to come up with another standalone to fulfill my contract? Or I should have just said, hey, we haven't had a whole lot of money change hands. Can we figure out a way to step away? And that's for me and the way that it affected me as a writer. Hopefully the readers don't see that. Hopefully the publisher, doesn't necessarily feel that way. But I definitely understand what you're saying. I did go on to write another book. I actually wrote Divided States after The Price of Silence, which is that book that I didn't have a great experience writing. And so everything worked out fine. And I have nothing bad to say about traditional publishing. I work for a small traditional publisher, but I also know that for some people and for a lot of people, self-publishing is going to be more profitable, and you're going to have a better experience doing it, especially if you are an entrepreneurial person and if you really like having creative control, because as both you and I know, and others out there in the comments and on the panel, whenever you sign a publishing deal, the publisher gets a lot of control over stuff you may wish you had control of yourself. So a whole lot of stuff to go on there, but I did want to see what your experience was, but it sounds like, it's pretty close to mine. So thank you for sharing that. We all appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks, Rick.
And we have reached the point in the program. We just kind of went round robin with what's new, but I always like to let people know you can always reach all of us here on TikTok and give everyone a few minutes to follow us if you're not already, because you have to follow us and we have to follow you back to DM, and that is one of the reasons that's cool. That's one of the reasons why we like having this platform, is so we can all connect with each other. So take a few minutes to do that. But why doesn't everybody go around, in addition to us here on TikTok, where can we find you online? And I'll just go ahead and do it in order of my screen, and we'll start with April.
Well, I'm obviously on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram. I do have a Facebook group, and then of course my website is aprildberry.com. And in my link tree here on TikTok, though, all of my stuff is there. So like one-stop shop. And I do have a reader magnet available. So it's a little freebie. It is a prequel to my club series. So if you want to pop in there and test my writing out a little bit before investing anything, it's called Snared, and it's toward the top of my link tree. So, and if you check it out, I hope you enjoy it. But that's all the places you can find me. But I hang out mostly on TikTok because I like the connection with my readers. So.
Excellent. Jamie.
You can find me on Instagram. That's pretty much the only one I know how to work. And then actually there is a Discord that is kind of fun. All the links are in my bio. I don't do Twitter. I don't do Facebook. There's new stuff popping up every day. I don't do those. I'm on TikTok the most. I've been doing Instagram more, and then the Discord's kind of fun. Actually, the Discord people get stuff for Umber King and any of my books before anyone else does. Like, they got to sign up for the ebook arcs first. Sometimes I'll post like preview chapters in there before the book comes out and stuff like that. So if you like Umber King, I mean, you can join, I guess. The links are all in my bio.
Excellent. Roisin.
So same as April and Jamie, my link's in the bio. I think I'm most active on Instagram, and I have Facebook, but I just got it because I'm evidently way behind times and never had a Facebook page until just very recently. I'm not on Twitter. I tried Hive for about 5 seconds, and that I don't even know if that's around anymore. Yeah, and I just want to put out there that on Friday, on St. Patrick's Day, I have all 3 books of my series so far are going to be free to download.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, all right.
Cool.
And
thank you for doing that.
We can find all those on the link in your bio, I take it?
Yes. Those are in the link in the bio too.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. We always love the ability to read our favorite authors for free when they choose, not I'm not even going to start a piracy conversation because we do not have time.
Right.
Eliza, Eliza, where can we find you online?
Yeah, I'm here obviously on TikTok. I'm Instagram and also ElizaSummers.com. If you're interested, I have my samples up there. Yeah, I try to get back to people. I haven't been posting as much lately because of grad school, but I try to get back to everyone eventually. I always get back to everyone eventually, actually. So yeah, and if you're an author or a narrator or even a reader and you follow me, I try to follow everybody back who's like not just following for follows. Like if you want to like be a part of the book community, I am like 100% for that, and I'll follow you back. And if I don't follow you back, you can comment on my videos and be like, "Hey, put me in line."
Yep. No, that's how I am. I go through everybody who follows me, and if you have a bookish looking account or something that's creative, then I follow back. If your name is user something and it's nothing but crazy stuff, then probably not. And then Tanya, you have like 3 or 4 TikTok accounts, and you're all over the place. So where should people go if they want to learn more about your PA services? Although she's so good at that I recently hired her, and she's going to start working for me at my company. So you better get your stuff booked now before I take over her life.
Actually, I am so many places at so many different times that it's best to just grab me if you see me running by and say, hey, follow me, message me. I am on TikTok. I am on Instagram, same name. It's easy to find me. And if I post something and you want to just get a hold of me, leave a message for me there. I check that all the time as well. But I just love working with this community. I've said this every week and it still holds true. This is the strongest, most supportive community that I've ever worked in. And we all believe that lifting each other up will lift everybody up to success. And I would love to be a part of that for the long run. That is why we have this platform. We want everybody to be able to self-promote. We want everybody to be able to succeed. And we want everybody to be able to learn so that we don't fall into the pitfalls like Rick and Roisin did. We have seen that story way too many times, and we just want everybody to love the journey and love who they are and what they are becoming. So if you guys ever need me to help you with any of that, just let me know. Grab me as I'm running by. Tell me to slow down for 5 minutes and listen, and I am more than willing to do that.
I love that. Grab me as I'm running by. That's an excellent way to put it. You can find me at ricktreon.com. That is the link that is in my bio, and I kind of designed it to look like a link tree because I figured that's what everyone uses. And if Linktree goes away, then my website will remain, hopefully. So you can find links to all of my books, and you can sign up for my newsletter. I'm about to switch to Substack because good problem to have. I have more than MailChimp will let me have for free, which is great. So I'm going to move over there. I keep saying I'm going to do that, but I need to actually go ahead and actually do it. And all my socials are on there. If you want to message me, I actually probably respond more to Facebook and Instagram messages than I do here on TikTok, just because they have a more sophisticated messaging platform than TikTok does. But message me on whatever you have, and I will message you back. It may not be immediately because I'm not as busy as Tanya is, but I've got my irons in a lot of different fires. So, but I do respond, and if you have to bug me again, please give me some grace. But thank you all for coming on. This was a really, really fun panel, and it's probably because I got Tanya as involved as I could, because she always gets people laughing. But no, a lot of diverse people on here in terms of what you write and what you do for the book community. So we very much appreciate it. And man, the comments were rocking down there tonight. We had a lot of people on, it looks like. So it'll be interesting to see what the numbers tell us, assuming that, depending on whatever freaked out midway through. But thank you to everyone who's down there. We almost got to 13,000 likes, and sometimes there's a delay, so we might actually have have gotten to 13,000 likes. So that's cool. That's definitely a record for us. So we love that. Lots of gifts given out. We all appreciate that. And thank you for everyone who was here tonight. I thought this was a really good show, and I hope everyone has a great night. We'll let those who need to get some sleep because I know it's about like 10 o'clock over there on the east. So take care, everyone, and thank you for showing up.
Thanks for having
us. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Have a